Here we are at Sundance 2022 virtual edition. We are here with Bitch Talk Podcast and filmsgonewild.com. My name is John Wildman. I'm the editor-in-chief of filmsgonewild.com, and I have the dynamic duo from Bitch Talk, Angela Tabora and Erin. They are here with me as well. And this is our first interview for virtual Sundance. And we're going to talk about the short film, Long Line of Ladies. And we have the directors, Shaandiin Tome and Rayka Zehtabchi. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Okay, now this is one where hopefully you two did rock, paper, scissors before this, because I'm going to ask one of you to describe the film. Our audience has not seen the film as yet. So whoever wants to take this, tell us about Long Line of Ladies.
Shaandiin, you want to take that one?
Yeah, Long Line of Ladies is about a young girl, Ati Allen, and she is from the Yurok and Kerek tribes of Northern California, and she is in the film about to go through her coming of age ceremony called the Ihuk.
That's short and sweet and perfect, but there's a lot that goes into this. And I think, Angela, did you want to start this one off?
Yeah, sure. I really appreciated one, just learning about this ritual, but I appreciated the film's emphasis on the leading up to the ceremony and not really the ceremony itself, because there was so much beauty in just the community and the family coming together and realizing the beauty and the importance of a moment that we, especially, as Americans, have really been taught to be sort of ashamed of and embarrassed by. So can you talk about your decision to really put the emphasis on the lead up to the ceremony and not the ceremony itself?
Yeah, I'll take that. I guess the emphasis comes from mostly, my own background. I'm Dene, so Navajo from the Southwest region of the United States. And I think there's always been an urge for filmmakers and all different types of artists or ethnographers to try and capture like what it means to be Indigenous. And so I think the approach was definitely to try to get away from that ethnographic lens and try and find something that like had what I know indigeneity to be, which is community and family and who you are in relation to each other. And I think that is so present in this documentary. And I think it's like the emphasis of even just like ceremony is such an individual thing that especially this particular ceremony where Ati is like blindfolded and she's looking inward to herself. We didn't want to disrupt that, and we didn't want to like try and capture what I think is like really difficult to capture in even in just a film, because it's the family is going through like a lifetime of knowledge in order to be able to understand this. So I think we tried our best to capture the relationships that the family had with each other and their hopes for the future and all these different generations and how they come together to uplift a young woman.
Rayka, could you add to that a little bit in terms of like specific examples of how the two of you kind of mapped out, when to ask to bring your cameras in, conversations you had prior in setting up boundaries, because it's such a sensitive process. They're going through trying to revive something that's precious to them, and you can tell, which is wonderfully captured, the delicacy of it with each generation and how they're approaching it. And so how you approached the film that, I would love for you to talk about some specific examples that you made sure that you didn't overstep your bounds and that they felt safe with you.
There were actually a lot of conversations kind of leading up to the shoot itself. A lot of trust building with the subjects of the film, especially with Pim Allen, who is Ati Allen's mom, and she's heavily featured in the film, and she's also just an incredible woman and someone who's been really instrumental in bringing back these ceremonies to the Karuk people, and really passing on a lot of that knowledge. So Pim, it was a lot of having conversations with her and with Almi, who's Ati's father, beforehand, and just for us really trying to, like, we'll never understand the experience of going through the ceremony, and it's not ours to understand, but you know, as much as we could, we would have conversations with them and try to understand, like, what is the intention behind this thing that happens, or what is the meaning behind this, and what is it like, what are our boundaries, like what can we film and what can't we film, what do you feel comfortable sharing with the world, and then what is just for you guys to experience. And you know, for me personally, it was a really different filmmaking process than anything I've ever done before, especially in documentary filmmaking, because I think we're just so used to, in docs, just kind of showing up with a camera and really just trying to capture as much as we possibly can. You know, I think it's like, it feels like a strength when you can come away and you have more footage than you initially anticipated capturing. But with this project, it was very much like trying to outline beforehand, Shaandiin and I trying to outline after having conversations with Pim seeing that outline, being totally clued in. She's a producer on the film, so it's very important to get her take on everything and get her, you know, kind of her sign off on everything, so that she had a clear like idea of the film that we were really trying to make, so there were really no surprises in the editing process. And we just found that to be really helpful in kind of building that trust. It was a long and very windy road, but I think, you know, we came out with a stronger film because of it. And more importantly, Pim and her family, the larger community, are incredibly proud of this final product, as they should be, because it's all about them and their story being revealed to the world.
And that leads into the question I had. I love the balanced stories of the women and the men. And it just reflects back on our American westernized culture of, no, periods are only about women. But this was about the whole, the village or the community. Can you talk about shining the light on the father's story and having males from the tribe, if you will, talk about this?
Yeah, Pim, the mom, basically, she puts it beautifully in a way that I think is so innate to Indigenous peoples. In my own culture, like there's hajo, or like things in relation to each other, or like creating a balance. And so I think that is very much present in their own philosophies too, and their stories, like the story of Dear Woman, which is about the ihuk, really like heavily involves the men. And so like there's uncles and dads in that. And so like there's I think they as a community realize that like the center of this whole entire ceremony, like initially is about Ati and is about her becoming a woman, but it's also about like how can the whole community come together, because you don't just make or like have like Ati just become a woman. It's like all the community has to come together in order to realize that and to like maintain that throughout her whole entire life. And so like she'll grow up and she'll do the same for younger, and then like maybe her cousins or her younger brother Natez or her dad or someone will help contribute with that.
You know, one thing that when you're making a short documentary, time literally is of the essence, and you're really trying to give us a lot of information in a very short, compact manner. Can you talk about the editing process and maybe some challenges in making sure that you paid service to everything that you wanted to, and yet keep a momentum with that?
I think when the decision was made to like not capture the ceremony itself and actually have the film be about everything kind of leading up to the ceremony, and more about community and all the people around her, I think it became very clear to us that like this is not a film that is about delivering information to audiences. You know, I think again, like in documentaries, like we're so used to just being spoon-fed information all the time and in a very like clear and direct way. There's always a push to like, you know, do voiceover and get it more, you know, get the information more clear. And it was kind of part of that, like wanting to respect the fact that this is their ceremony and that we're not going to overshare, you know, like there were more things that were captured, of course, than what ended up in this film. Cause I think, what is the runtime, like 20 minutes. So a lot of it wasn't shared, but it was also like, how can we sort of create the feeling and the texture, you know, the feeling that we felt being there. It was more about capturing like the energy of moments and the feeling of the, you know, everyone being around one another and being together, as opposed to the audience needs to very clearly understand this very specific thing that takes place during the ceremony. So it was a little bit of a balancing act. Like, how much do you share for people to be clued in and to really, like, most importantly, to care and to be invested, but without oversharing, you know, without getting too much into the details or the weeds of things. So, you know, it's a balance of that in the editing process, and also how we captured a lot of the footage. I mean, you see a camera that is far away and it's generally wider, and it's, you know, it's not about the details in the frame. It's about kind of like standing back and feeling the energy of the room.
Yeah, I love how in all of your answers is just this real emphasis on respect and boundaries and knowing when to come in and really finding the right subject. And so I'm curious to find out if you heard about the EHOC and you knew you wanted to cover it, you were just kind of scouting for the right family or the right girl to cover, or did you always know that it was going to be Ati?
Rayka, you could answer that.
Yeah, so the process kind of, it goes like back many years to a film that I made, a documentary called Period End of Sentence. And I made alongside the PAD Project, which I'm now a part of as well. It's a nonprofit organization, and their mission is to sort of eradicate the stigma around menstruation worldwide through education. And the PAD Project was behind this film as well. And so after Period End of Sentence, which was a film that kind of, it really established the shame and the stigma around menstruation, specifically in Northern India. But after that film, there's sort of a, like, we were trying to figure out a way that we could sort of do the opposite. Like, how can you find a story or a community of people that actually, you know, for a long time have actually like had positive thoughts about menstruation and like really supported their girls during this time, you know, instead of like just kind of jumping on the bandwagon of the menstrual hygiene movement that really was sort of kickstarted like a handful of years ago. And so from that, we sort of started doing research and realize that, you know, there are a lot of Native tribes that have coming of age ceremonies for young girls when they first menstruate, and they're really sort of positive experiences. And we then found, I think it was like a blog post on the EHOC ceremony that actually Pim had a part in. It was about her older daughter Ty's ceremony. And then we kind of tracked Pim down on Facebook and did it the, you know, the social media way, but
The old-fashioned way.
Or the new fashioned way rather. But she was very excited and responsive, and, you know, immediately, you know, responded to the request to connect with us, and then, you know, the rest is history.
Well, I'll tell you what, you know, considering that you're following up on an Academy Award winner, and Shaandiin, that, you know, that you're continuing your Sundance streak going with this film. This one is just a wonderful follow-up, and really lovely. Again, the film is Long Line of Ladies. We've been talking to the directors Shaandiin Tome and Rayka Zehtabchi. It's been wonderful talking to you about the film.
Thank you all for the time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for this film.
Loved it. Yeah.